I think this is like a year old too. Did these expire? Oh wow, this expired like 2 years ago. Hey, you want a Red Bull?
No.
What's up, guys? Here for episode 5. We're here for episode 5 of Bioptimized, where we're going to do a review of Modafinil. So, by popular demand from friends and online, I'm just going to do a review strictly of Provigil / Modafinil. You ever have one of those days where you wake up and you just think you need a little bit of caffeine, so you reach for a 16-ounce Red Bull, sugar-free? Well, many people by now have discovered Modafinil, and it's become very widespread. It's kind of like the new Adderall. Some people are saying this is nothing new, but I have experience with it, and it's something that I've taken on and off for several years now. I've been prescribed Provigil, and I don't take it as much right now. And I actually took some today, which I'll talk about in this experience. But it's so widespread now that it's like a new smart drug because it's so smooth and mellow. So I guess the best way to start this is to talk about, where I found it and how it came into my life and what I was looking for. So many years ago, I was being treated for ADHD, and I was on Adderall, and it was just like way too cracked out of feeling all the time. I would take it in the morning, and I was just like wired. And I think part of the problem too is I was like a younger guy back then. I was in my early 20s. I was in college, so you don't have as much self-control, and you're like, oh cool, if I mix it with this giant Red Bull too, like it hits you even harder, it's even more exciting. Well, that sort of attitude doesn't lend itself to actually focusing in class and getting work done. So a couple years down the line, I was talking to my doctor about it, and I don't know if Provigil just came out then or what exactly, but if it was totally new, but it was definitely coming onto the map. It was more popular then, and we talked about getting something that would be a little bit smoother and not such a rush like Adderall. So I was concerned, what it might be doing to my health, what it might do long term, and I wanted to take a break from it for at least a little while. So I got a script for Provigil, and I started at 200 milligrams a day, and I still remember the first day. I went to visit my parents, actually, and I was so wired that they were like terrified as to what was going on. And I felt uncomfortably wired. Like this was not what I expected. I expected it to be very smooth and gentle, and I couldn't deal with it. And I spent the entire day just like wired awake until the point where I was up all night. Like I went and hung out with friends later on. I think I went to bed at like 4 a.m. because I just couldn't sleep from it. And that was my first experience with it. So I tried it a few more times, and I was supposed to take 200 milligrams a day, which seems to be the common dose. And it was a similar experience. It lessened a little bit, it evened out a little bit, but I just wasn't a huge fan. So I just let that go for many years afterwards. Until recently, a couple years ago, I decided to give it one more stab, and I know people are big on it, and I was like, there's got to be something better about it. So I tried it again, and now that there's generics and everything, it made it a lot more affordable too, which is pretty wonderful. So I tried it out, and it's better. I don't know if it's just because I got older or what. I don't know. Maybe I was still somewhat tolerant to it, but it just didn't hit me as hard this time. But it was, I got a lot of stuff done that day. Like I can't remember the first few days taking it. And then I started getting really tired, which is weird. So I noticed it was sort of backfiring on me. Like I would take it, and then 3 to 6 hours later, I'd start getting really tired. And I remember once I took it 3 days in a row, and I had to have a friend drive me home from my office, which wasn't a big deal. He was there already visiting, but I had to have him drive me home because I was just like barely keeping my head up. And it confused me so much. So I did a bunch of research on it, and I found out there are a few other people that had similar problems where they found that it was just making them way more tired than anything. And they found that taking a smaller dose was actually working really well, which is pretty funny because usually you would think that the doctor would start you on a lower dose and tell you to go up. And usually all the guys on the internet are like, oh, just go right for the top dose. So I instead dropped my dose to 100 milligrams, and it still did it after a few days. I'd still get really tired. And then a few days, I gave it a couple weeks and tried again. and I dropped it to 50 milligrams. And lo and behold, I was able to make it an entire week where I was keeping stimulated, focused throughout the day, and having plenty of energy at night, and more or less. And it worked much better for me. So it was crazy. I totally figured out that less was more. Now I know there's some people that say they go down to even 25 milligrams. I'm sure there's some people who go even less. So that's, you know, if you're gonna try it, that's something to keep in mind. More isn't always better. But where it gets interesting again is that I had another issue with it, is that I was starting to get really irritable when I'd take it. And if anyone distracted me from my work, I would just get, you know, I'd blow up in their face and just tell them to screw off. Sometimes that works all right. Like if it's your friends, they understand. Like you tell them like, hey, you know, I just took this and I'm just trying to get work done. Oh, okay, don't worry about it. But when it's the boss or whatnot, then it's a little different story. So, or if you say that to your friends enough times in a row. So that leads me to where we are today. And, you know, to kind of conclude the review with some of the most interesting and relevant information that I have. So this will be another video entirely as well, but not too long ago, I found a post online on the site Phoenix Rising, which I frequent due to an MTHFR mutation that I have per a DNA test. More on that in another video too. And after that, I found that I had the so-called warrior gene, which at first it sounds like the most exciting thing on earth. Like I told my friends this, I'm like, yo, I got the warrior gene. And they look it up and like, wow. At first, nobody believed it was actually me, but I thought it was pretty awesome. Like, you know, you could put that in like all your online profiles. Like, wow, I got the warrior gene. Okay, I haven't done that, but anyways, so I didn't realize there was a connection there until I started taking methylfolate and realized I didn't do well with it. Like it would just make me really angry every time. And so someone on Phoenix Rising, this guy said that he discovered taking vitamin B2, riboflavin, helps basically, that you need that for MAOA to work properly and to break down neurotransmitters. So I've been doing that for, I'd say a little over a month now, and it's been, excuse me, it's been one of the most wondrous times in my life. I've been very calm, very collected, and I'm thrilled about it. I don't feel sedated. I don't feel, you know, toned down too much or anything like that, knocked down or anything, but just I feel the way I'd like to feel, where, you know, if somebody says something that's a little bit snappy towards me, I don't get angry. I can think clearly and come up with a solution. So things started going better with folate, and then I decided again to try modafinil. So modafinil always tended to do this more to me than our modafinil, Provigil, which doesn't create this effect as much for me. And I finally tried it again today, actually, and I didn't have it. There's barely been an issue. It's been much more subdued. So what I'm saying is that you'd be amazed if you take modafinil and it makes you irritable or anything, or if you're getting side effects, there might be another reason for it. My case that I found taking a lower dose, taking 50 milligrams a day, did wonders. I found that taking vitamin B2, specifically coenzymated B2, every day for the past couple months, or month and a half or so, has made a huge difference in how I handle it. It's not as much of a rush. It doesn't feel unnatural. I just felt wide awake most of the day. The problem though, the third problem I have with modafinil is that compared to our modafinil is that it wears off after like 6 or so hours, and hit or miss. So after about 6 hours, I start getting a little more tired. It's kind of like caffeine wearing off, but kind of not. And it finally drops down to the point where I just don't feel very energized. I'm below baseline. And I'll tell you, I'm below baseline right now. So, you know, but I really wanted to put this video together while I was thinking about it, while I'm, you know, still on the medication, so I can describe it accurately to you. And it's, you know, it's still frustrating that it does that. There's ways around it. You could always take more and just be up all night. Some people have advised mixing with caffeine. It's something to, you know, tread carefully with, because it can be quite a rush. The two mixed together are way more powerful than either one alone. You know, my friend saw me pull this out. He's a big Red Bull drinker, and he got really excited when I got especially a 16-ounce Red Bull out. Like he thought, you know, the party's on, but no, this is going back in the fridge. I think this is like a year old too. Did these expire? Oh wow, this expired like 2 years ago. Hey, you want a Red Bull? No. I can't trick anyone into drinking expired Red Bull. I wonder, anyways. So, but the point is that it still wears off after a while. But it's, you know, if you try modafinil and it doesn't work quite right for you, it's something that definitely takes a little bit of work to get it right. It's not just to take it and like, it's not like Advil or something where it either works or it doesn't work for most people, where it's very cut and dry, very simple like that. It tends to be more of a, you know, there might be some tuning required. When I was taking 200 milligrams, it was just way too much. 100 was way too much. You know, some people online are saying they take like 800. I don't know how or why. I think that's like the upper limit where they tested before people started having like some serious health issues. But less was definitely more, and I know I'm not alone in that. So keep that in mind. I mean, if you have experience too where it's making you really irritable, then you might be interested in the vitamin B2 thing, which I'm definitely going to cover in at least one other video because that's been truly life-changing to me. So look forward to that. If you're watching this now, then that video should be coming out within probably a couple weeks. I'd really like to do that one and go over vitamin B2. So that's my review of modafinil, strictly modafinil, not covering our modafinil or anything else. And I hope it helps you. You know, I hope it helps you make an educated decision on whether you want to take it or not. At the end of the day, the best solution is always to try it and, you know, start low and go slow with it. That said, any questions, any thoughts? Do you want to share your experience? Leave them in the comments, hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.